I personally work anywhere between 14 to 17 hours a day. Um, and that's because I'm really passionate. I love how, how we do it, and I love, the growth of the company. And I actually don't I don't want to say I work. I'd say, like, it's more for me like a sport. Like, I train, let's say,
and,
14 to 17.
did you notice he says that I know what how we do it, not what, how. It's the process of it. It's just the journey of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. For me, it's all the journey. It's the process.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our show again. Today we have a treat for you, Talal Kaakani. Talal, I know him for several years now. I believe he's the epitome of entrepreneurship. He brings the hustle, the mindset, and the confidence that comes just within him. I don't know where it comes from, but it just comes. I think he's also very real. He's real about the challenges. He's real about the opportunities. He just thinks like the entrepreneur. He just like lives and breathes every day. So I'm so happy to have you, Talal, so that we can change it up a little bit and then tell everybody what this entrepreneurship is all about.
Well, thank you so much, Ike. First of all, beautiful introduction. I didn't know a lot of things about myself. But thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Benoy. Pleasure. I'm excited
You're
for this.
welcome. We're really happy because for all of our listeners and viewers, Talal is right now in the thick of it. He's right now in the thick of growing his business, and it is significantly successful. At the same time, not without challenges. And that's why today's theme, I'm really looking forward to this, is to hear about the struggles, what you are finding out you need to do. And essentially, you said something at the start. Entrepreneurship is not, what was it? Say it again.
It wasn't. It's not what it was sold to me. Like, it wasn't. It's not. It's not that coffee cup at a Starbucks with a laptop that is, that looks good. It's not a very beautiful office with like a tree behind, and you have your coffee with a nice straw. I mean, Ike has been to my office several times. It doesn't look like that, and yeah.
I've seen not only the office, but how the office is growing, and like he gets a new office, Binoy, and not even 3 months. Like I'm like I can't fit in this place. I need a new place.
Wow.
Look, let's talk all about those. But Talal, maybe we can start with your origin story. Like what defined you in the past that describes it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you
Yeah.
became who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, uh, my name is Talal Kaakani. I was born and grew up in Lebanon. This is where I spent most of my life, and where I met, my beautiful wife, Tamara, back in 2003. So we've been together for 20 something years now. Um, yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur, always been, wanting to do something for myself, wanting to open and launch a business, always been into sales and trying to buy stuff and flip it and sell stuff. Um, until in 2015, my wife decided, she's like, we need to move to the US. It wasn't very safe back there. She wanted, a bigger opportunity, a safer place for my kids and for us, and somewhere where we can actually really grow, and somewhere where we can build a beautiful family. Um, this is when we decided to move. Back there, I was the general manager of one of the biggest distribution for motorcycle apparel and accessories, and I was literally at the top. Applied for so many jobs here in the US, and some of which now they want to invest in me, like in the company that I'm in. Got a lot of rejections, until I got a job offer for a company here in California, and it was an entry-level job. It was literally like a customer service in-house salesperson back in 2015. The salary was nothing. The area is super expensive here in Costa Mesa. So I took the job, and within like 6 months, I was all the way at the top. From the first day at the job, they asked me to unload the container. They asked me to do things that I had people that used to do it for me. And here I am, starting all over again. My English wasn't that good. My English is my third language. So I was figuring things out, but at the same time, the only thing in common that I brought with me from Lebanon is the hustle, is the hard work, is coming into a new industry and a new market and a new language and new people, new friends, new colleagues. The only thing that I had in common with my previous job is the answer is always simple. If you show up before everyone else and you leave after everyone leaves, you're already like 60 to 70% there. And if you just use your mind a little bit and hustle a little bit more than everyone else and optimize on the time you're at the office more than anyone else around you, you're going to benefit from that, and you're going to get to a point where you're growing faster than everyone else. Before you even think outside of the box, there's plenty of tools you can use inside the box to get there. And literally, I got to the top. It was in 6 months. I was the brand manager for one of the brands. Then in 1 year, I was the director of sales for the entire company. And then from there, there was nowhere else to go. It was the top because the CEO is a friend of mine, and he's Italian, and he's been there for a very long time. So then, meanwhile, I figured like I really, I'm doing everything. I'm working, 18 hour days, building someone else's dream. And it's time for us to really build our own dream. But the idea was never right, and the timing was never right. Like every time I had an idea and every time I had something that I wanted to do, there was always something that stops me from doing it. Until my wife one day came to me and told me, you know, we're struggling with, finding the perfect outfit for our kids, and I have an idea. I have a brilliant idea that if we can do it, I think we can go really far with it. My daughter was diagnosed with severe eczema when she was born, and we couldn't find the perfect outfit that is free of chemical, free of harsh chemicals, that we can actually put on her and that can ease her sleep. And at the same time, there were so many features within clothing that are on the market, but there was not one that can take all these features and puts it in one. So we decided to get on a journey where we can build that and provide that for all the kids around the world, and starting in the US and now going globally and internationally. And that's how Bellabu Bear was born, from a need that my daughter really needed something better for her skin so she can sleep better, and from a functionality purpose where not on every product had something where it covers their hand or their foot, or a double way zipper, or a zipper that curves to the back when they crawl. And generally, this is from the idea. This is where we came up with the product, and this is how the brand was born.
Fantastic. Wow. And that was how many years ago? And you can just tell us the number of employees you have now. How many years ago from zero? How many employees you have now?
Bellabu Bear started, now it's been 4 years, and right now we have 22 employees.
Wow.
Yes.
Because headcount is always the most expensive labor expense, or any expense.
Yes.
So congratulations. Wow.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
And you said entrepreneurship is not what it was sold as. So tell me, what have you learned? Even the first two things that come to mind, like, it wasn't like that.
When you're from the outside and looking at what are you seeing on the internet, and when you're seeing on what's sold to you in a way that it's fun and it's happy and it's freedom and you're free every single day to do whatever you want.
This is so
and
fun.
and and taking your destiny in your own hand. And it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up, right? And you hear those big titles and you're like, oh, this is fun, this is exciting. I believe me, Benoit and Ike knows, I'm the least free person in the entire organization. I don't get to wake up and go to the beach and not show up to work if I wanted to. I have to show up even if I'm sick. There's payrolls that are due every Friday, and yeah, if you don't hustle, if you don't work your ass off every single day, you can't achieve those results, and you cannot run this big team. Yes, it is beautiful. It is very challenging. There is some beautiful moments in it, like we celebrate every achievement that we have, and we've had many of them. But at the same time, everybody is looking at the end results and jealous from it, but no one is looking at the work you put in it and is jealous from it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great journey. Obviously, it's beautiful. I love every single piece of it, but it's not fun all the time. Um, it's literally waking up in every morning and saying, "What kind of fire I need to put down today?"
Yeah.
And I, never complaining about it just because that's what I signed up for. But have I known that it's gonna be this challenging? I would have given it an extra thought. But now that I'm in it, I think one of the things that I learned is um, you know learning how to play the game of entrepreneurship, knowing that I am in a UFC fight, and the only way you can win is to get punched. You gotta get punched every day, and you're gonna struggle. And when you hear about, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up, it used to be like a slogan to me, but now I really understand the meaning. I really understand the fact that you struggle every single day, and every day there is something different. And yeah.
Tell us like, what is the mindset of getting up? Like you're punched every day, every week, right?
Yes.
Like, do you go into like 2-3 days of like depression, and then you find a way to get back, or are they shorter or longer, or who do you use, or what do you use to get back up, or maybe you just need to be away? So tell us a little bit about like how another entrepreneur can learn from you to how to get up.
Yes. Uh, to answer the question, not anymore. Not anymore. At the beginning, yes, it used to get to me, and it used to put me down for a couple days when we have like a small little lawsuit here. That we had nothing to do with it, by using a word that maybe we shouldn't have used it, or someone taking advantage of the system, or something. Not anymore. I learned how to really overcome all these obstacles, and I learned that you're gonna get hit by these things every single day, no matter what. And it's kind of like you build this immunity against it. It's like, all right, we're not gonna dwell about it. We're not gonna sit and cry about it. We're just gonna, we're gonna learn from it, and we're gonna move forward. And that is the best thing that ever happened to even the team around us. Like, they used to get overwhelmed. Now it's like a normal day for them. We work, we're like, it's a fast growing pace and company at the same time. Like, we're growing at 300%, year over year. At first they didn't know how to pivot quickly, or they didn't know how to work under pressure. Now it's like literally just before I jumped on this podcast, we changed the entire Black Friday strategy, and they were fine with it. It's like, yeah, we're changing the email, we're changing the content, we're gonna have to redo all the copies. And I'm looking at all of them, like, I didn't see any pushbacks. I didn't see anybody who's like, really, that's what we're doing. And like, at the beginning, everybody used to have a red face when we used to do something. and you feel the tension inside the company. Now it's just like a normal day, and for me it's no different than that. I literally got used to it. Like, that's really the right answer. It's like I got used to um, the struggle, and I got used to the punches, and I just walk through it, and it doesn't affect me. It's funny that it doesn't anymore.
Yeah. And Ike knows my friend Jason, an ex a Marine SEAL. He's
Yeah,
a
I know
tough
him
guy.
very well.
Yes, very well. He released a book called Deliberate Discomfort.
Okay.
And I think that's exactly what it is. You get used to being uncomfortable.
Yes.
You get used to doing the hard things until after a while, it's fine. In fact, as you were explaining that it's not what it was cracked up to be, I thought, you know what? It's like raising children. It's a
Mhm.
lot of hard work. And then after a long period of time, you get a little face that just smiles at you. And then you go, oh, that was worth it. So you put in
Absolutely.
all of this stuff for a little smile, a little hug. And then as you get the company to progress, like the children get bigger, those rewards become more frequent. But at first, it's all work, sleepless nights, long hours, worrying, especially the mothers. It's not that different from starting a business. That's how people should kind of frame their minds, and you're living it.
I agree with you 100%. And I strongly believe is that your success is at the different side of your comfort,
Yeah,
is at your discomfort level. Anything that makes me, whenever I get comfortable, I get anxious, because I do know that success lives in the discomfort phase, in a place where you're not comfortable, in a place where you feel like you're doing, you're pushing yourself to the limit, and you're very uncomfortable with the situation. And when you break through, that's when you really get to the next level in everything that we do. Like, even when we want to implement a new software, it's a very uncomfortable process. There's so many hidden pieces, and there's so many missing points usually, and so many mistakes that could happen. But I do know that if we do it right, and it's very uncomfortable, like for everybody, even for the designers, but if we do it right, you get to the next level. And I also noticed something recently, that we've been doing for the past 2 years, is that speed is very important, and not perfecting things before you move forward, is having a speed and execution, even if you're gonna do mistakes, because by the time you really implement, and if you implement faster than everyone else, especially the competitors, you already learned 3 to 4 things about it, and you already have this comprehensive idea on how to do it better, where everyone else is still implementing. And I do think also that money loves speed, to be honest. And recently, we've been like just taking decisions, like, let's make a decision and go with it. And even if it's a hard one and a hard decision, the more that you see it that it's difficult and uncomfortable, the more the higher the results is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I used to
Yes.
say all the time, profit is proportional to risk taken.
Hmm.
It's almost the same level of profit is proportional to discomfort endured, right? And
Yes.
so you go through this. Hey, tell us. I heard through the grapevine, that man over there, that at one point you were the one-armed octopus taking care of everything. You had 10 arms. Everything had
Yes.
to come through you. You had to be the one that was in the middle. What happened? What's the story there?
Yeah. So, yeah, having worked with an Italian company, and having also, they exited the company for like over $1 billion, which is a very big number in the industry that we were in. I learned that the reason why they had a strong value is that they had control over the entire operations. Um, from the product to the manufacturing to the warehousing, even content creation, everything that they used to do in marketing used to happen in house. Um, and I learned a really good lesson from there, is that if you really want to take your destiny in your own hands and really want to pivot, at a startup that is going very strong, um, you need to have everything in house. And I never really believed in hiring agencies or hiring someone external, or external help to come in and like kind of give us an idea or teach us how to do it. I always believed that we should do everything ourselves, and we can be experts and become experts in everything, in all the verticals inside the company. uh, until really like we hit a wall, especially on our marketing side. We've been believing that this is the best of our capabilities, and like we were the best at it, and no one else can do it better than we do, until recently we started struggling a little bit in some of the media buying. And I was fortunate enough, we were the winners of the Inc. 5000. We had, we were one of the fastest 5,000 companies winner in the US. So we were invited to this beautiful event where I was fortunate enough to meet one of the entrepreneurs that owned a marketing agency. He just, we sat down together, and he's like, let me take a look at your ad accounts and let me see if there's a place where I can help. And the minute he sat down and, started explaining, we're doing this, we tried that. And he's like, let me tell you something, Talal. You have one brand, and that's exactly, you do this for only one brand. We have over 200 to 300 brands, and we see all the struggles in every single brand. And not only that, but we also learn from all these mistakes, and that we built a team that actually learned a lot from all these learning phases. And I believe, looking at your ad account, we can really help you. I'm not going to say you're doing a lot of things that are wrong, but I'm saying that you're not up to date to all the newest technologies and all the newest techniques out there in the media buying. And we can come in and really turn this around for you. I didn't believe it. I figured this is not, yes, they're going to do something, but it's not going to be that remarkable. And man, just in a matter of a couple of weeks, we felt like we're leaving so much money on the table. And have we known about this before, we would have been in a much bigger place right now. Not that we're not growing, but it would have been so much help and so much support. And I would have been able to focus on so many other areas of the business versus, being stubborn and trying to really crack the code, where in an area that I'm obviously not the expert in it. I have a general idea about how it works. But yeah, that was one of the things that I believe that, yes, there are some really strong experts out there that can help. And, believe it or not, this company is called Data Over Ego. It's called DOE. The founder is a very good friend now. His name is Ramsey. And they came in and really they turned things around. So it was a great learning lesson for me. And now I'm like, what next? What can we actually, like, what kind of portion of the business that we're struggling in that we can delegate to someone, where we can focus on what we do best, which is designing, producing products, supply chain. We're great at it. Coming up with trends and designs that are innovative and that can resonate with our customer, and let the expert really do the job on the things that we have a general idea or a general overview on, but we're not expert in.
Got it. It's such a good lesson, isn't it? To know that you've outgrown your own internal in-house strength, and to not have the ego kind of ruin what you've started off with, because you can tap out and crater what you've made to this point. I've done too many of those mistakes. I truly identify. I've got more questions. Do you have a question?
I do as well, of course. Go.
One question, one line. There's a difference between starting a business and putting everything into it, as many hours as it takes, versus now where you're growing at 300% year over year, which is amazing. How are you changing the way you now run your business beyond delegating to specialists? How has your mind changed? What was the mind like when you started? How is the mind now?
Yeah, the mindset is everything, and it's a very big piece of being an entrepreneur. Um, just basic things like when I was starting, used to focus a lot on my mindset of being motivated all the time. It's like I was in the motivation phase. And where I'm at now, it's I switched to the development phase. It's like I'm no longer need the motivation, and those motivation speakers around me, like people and mentors that really led me to start in the first place. Right now, I'm more like, how can I develop myself personally, and how can we grow the business and kind of sharpen the edges and make sure that we're well-rounded and we're prepared for what's coming next. At first, starting is like we were doing everything like a trial and error. We were testing in different aspects of the business, trying different things and exciting things that could work and could not. Right now, it's more like a calculated risk and a step by step, and a final goal and a performance goals on how we're gonna reach those goals. It's like we were just I never had a business plan, for instance. I've never done a market study. I've never done a feasibility study or any of that. I just started, and figured it out as I go. Where right now it's like, no, we have payrolls. We need to have a forecast, and we need to purchase accordingly. We cannot be out of stock. Back in the days, we're out of stock. Oh, it's a good problem to have. It's not no longer a good problem to have, being out of stock and not capitalizing on all these customer visitors that are coming in, not finding anything to buy. And more on what are the next steps. Like, we're always thinking ahead in terms of, yeah, 300% year over year. There's so many things that you don't see in terms of operations. Like, we're gonna do, it's an X amount of numbers this year, all right, but we did not expect that the warehouse is gonna be small. We did not expect that we needed far more people to be doing the pick and packing. We did not expect that we need more content creators, more graphic designers, and all of that. Being at that stage and knowing what it takes and measuring the risk factor versus the revenue, it's fundamental. It's like, it's not anymore you know how much can we grow. It's how much we want to grow. In terms of, like, we're not limiting ourselves, but we're setting ourselves goals and targets that, yes, we can exceed it, but it's going to come at a cost. And that cost could be, a bottom line decrease, and so on.
That's awesome. So I want to make sure our audience is aware of the bottom line a little bit. So this is what Talal did is this is a bootstrap business. There are no investors here. There is no money that you can spend that is not yours. Right. So one of Talal's great talent is, I think, being a magnet for good people. But Talal, please tell us a little bit more, because you've managed to attract these good people, but you're also balancing your expenses. So while you give great opportunities for people to grow, from your finance guy to your video guy for your photo shoots, like, you have a lot of people that you were able to attract, help them grow, but in a bootstrapping way, they don't cost $200,000 a piece in Costa Mesa.
Yes, that's so true. First, I will begin by, really, I was fortunate enough that my partner, which is my wife, in this business, she's a fascinating entrepreneur. Like, she just mimics the same energy that I have. She's unbelievable in her executions and unbelievable in the amount of work and time that she puts behind the business. Um, and it's hard. It's really hard, for, and I've never really seen like a couple, like a married couple that get along that well, not only in the house but also in the business side of things. Her and I really complement each other um, with our tasks, and with our expertise. Like, she brings in something that I don't have, and I bring something that I don't have, and both of us together, we're really a power team. That is one of the most fundamental people, like us, me and her, the founders. But then we knew that both of us were really not great at the numbers. Like, um, we have a general understanding, but we don't like digging into the numbers and building the P&Ls and putting all this together. And at some point, we needed to hire a bookkeeper. Um, and that guy, came to our house and sat down with us and said, "Hey, listen, I can do this for you. I can do that for you. And this is how much it will cost you." He was a very interesting person, that I started asking him a lot of questions, like, "What do you do on the side? Is that your full-time job?" It's like, "Well, I actually have a full-time job, and I do this on the side, kind of like to, you know, um, kind of like to pay off, the bills. It's like kind of like a side hustle for me, where I do bookkeeping for other companies. But I also have my Amazon store. I also have this and that, and like we kind of like starting to connect." So I shared with him a little bit of what we're doing, and what's the mission and the vision of the company, and what is it that we want to build. And immediately, like, he's like, "I'm very interested in kind of learning more about it." And the more we started sitting and talking together, the more that I figured, like, this is my number three guy at the company, and this is someone that I would really love to be here at full time, because I knew that in order to be successful and in order to really grow the business, you need someone who is hands-on the numbers on daily basis. And I couldn't have found a better person, someone who's very honest, very driven, unbelievably driven, cares. Like, care is one of the words that I really believe. If you want to look at someone who can take that journey with you, you need someone who actually cares, and that person really does. um, and he was my number three. He's the best thing that ever happened to us at the company. He went and left his job automatically. He really believed in what we're doing. He really saw in us something that a lot of people didn't at the beginning, and believe in that we're gonna get there. Left his job, joined us, and now, he's our number three. And he's someone who's, as we grow, we're all like, distributing fair salaries to each other, and he can see like we're already like growing and growing and growing. But not only that, like, I think that once we share the story of the company and how we started and where we're heading at, we attract a lot of people around us that really wants to be part of this fascinating journey and this beautiful brand that we built. Because we believe in the next steps, and we believe that on every step, that we're taking, we're gonna really, grab those results that we're looking for. And we've been hitting our targets year over year. So it's hasn't been a hard sell for people to join us. It's been just like, this is what we're up to, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it. And yeah, a lot of people, a lot of beautiful, great people really joined our team recently. My videographer, photographer, like, they all started, like, even our interns, they started as interns and they worked for free for like 3 months, and then they transitioned into full-time employees. And yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted everybody out there to know, in order to grow 300% or hit your numbers every year, your job as an entrepreneur to find ways to do it without millions of dollars raising from investors.
Yes, absolutely. And you cannot do it on your own, like the example we give on hiring an agency, but you cannot do it on your own. and it's not fun on your own. You need the team and you need the people. And I believe that being a professional basketball player previously, that was one of the things that I did. I had a very short career, had a lot of injuries, but what I learned is I learned a lot how to work with a team. And I also learned that, being a leader in a team and trying to communicate that with the rest, and try to communicate when everyone is really struggling during certain time of the game, and trying to lift them up and lift their spirit up, and knowing that the only way to win is by the last seconds. Like there's literally, it's when you push that last moments is when you actually make the win. It's those last seconds inside the game when everybody's down and you're like pushing. It's like, guys, there's only few seconds left and then we can win the championship. I learned that from basketball and brought it into the work environment. And I feel like being cheerful every morning and having this team really believing in what you're doing and being on that journey with you, it's just incredible.
Bino is taking notes.
Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am. It is quite the journey. Everyone's going to ask this. How much time are you spending at work versus with the family? How is it changing? What are you doing to balance yourself out? Otherwise, you will get run down, depleted, and sick, and not be able to perform.
Absolutely. So again, fortunate enough that, first of all, I work with my wife, right? Like, let's start with that. And not only that, but Bellabu Bear the name was after my daughter, which is her name, but my daughter's Bella, and that's how we came up with the name. We always used to call her Bellabu Bear, and she's the inspiration behind the entire, not only the entire brand, but also the, most importantly is the name. We've brought in the family into the work environment. Like, Bella's been not only part of the company, but also a big part of the design of the outfits that we have. Having sensory issues and having sensitive skin, and being, a little kid herself, and being tied into certain shows, TV shows that she watches, and certain characters that she loves and she likes. We literally brought in the family into the work environment.
She's the chief designer, I guess.
She's the chief designer. She has a saying in everything that we do, and in everything that, in every step along the way, from designing the products to selecting the print, selecting everything that we're doing. So I personally work anywhere between 14 to 17 hours a day. And that's because I'm really passionate. I love how we do it, and I love the growth of the company. And I actually don't want to say I work. I'd say, like, it's more for me like a sport. Like, I train, let's say, 14 to 17.
And did you notice he says that I know how we do it, not what, how. It's the process of it. It's just the journey of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. For me, it's all the journey. It's the process. Like, yes, I'm passionate about the brand, of course, but it's the process that I'm passionate the most about. It's the fact that I can take a product X and then can find someone who can not like buy it, and how to carry that person throughout the entire cycle and funnel. That's what excites me the most. But going back to the work family balance, they're part of it, and especially that I genuinely believe that it's not like, oh, they work with us all day. No, I just want to be clear for the audiences that are listening. But like, when they come from school and they come to the office is really a good vibe. They get to sit with me. She get to pick all the right characters, that are gonna go on the next outfit that's gonna be launched. She's the reason why we license Paramount as an exclusive partner. She's the reason why we license Universal and Warner Brothers. We brought in the Justice Leagues, the Wonder Woman, Batman, Spider-Man. We brought in Paw Patrol, all these beautiful characters. And guess what? She gets to see a sneak of what's coming up when the movie's coming out, and when and how it's going to happen. And if it's a new character in a movie is coming up as well. But with with all due respect to um, the school system that we have, I think there's a big generation out there that it doesn't look like the like how our fathers and our grandfathers worked, and doesn't communicate the same way that they communicate, and also doesn't um, have the same beliefs that our fathers and grandfathers did things. And everything changed. Communication, marketing changed, advertising changed, the way we communicate with each other changed, the way we're doing this meeting on this video changed. So why is the school system hasn't changed? And that's something that when I look at how our kids are being fed the information, it's like it's dated. And I believe that having them being in a classroom and not being only theorists and not practitioners and not seeing how the real world works, is can be hurtful.
Yeah.
So a big part of them being on this journey is that learning experience that they have. um, and that balance, I think, is also healthy for them, is like being part of entrepreneurship, and seeing the steps and negotiating margin, and seeing their mom talking to all these vendors. And sometimes we get investors, and it's like, we're not selling a part of the company, this is under my name. My daughter screams that. I think it's healthy. A balance is healthy there. But yeah, I'm in it, man. I'm in it like 24/7. And how do you balance that? There's if you want to call it, I don't call it balance. I call it a lifestyle. It's my new lifestyle, and my kids and my family are on board.
Kudos to you. It's not a balance for you. It's incorporating your family and business into each other, and it's also amazing that you're using this to grow your kids how to be grown-ups one day. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I have no choice. I have no choice.
When I go to office, I like jump through over the kids on the
Mhm.
floor
Yes.
to get to Talal.
Yes. And you can make it work, and you can make it a workout. Even from selecting the guys at the warehouse, they're four best friends that grew up together in high school. And I hired the first one, and then the second one, which Sammy is his other best friend, and they brought then their other best friend and their other best friend. And when you look at them, they're not working, they're working out. Like when they run to get the product, they're like literally running and throwing it to each other. And they have this beautiful vibe. And to a point that whenever everybody's like, you're growing so fast, you need a 3PL. And every time we talk to a 3PL, they can never beat our numbers. They can never ever beat our numbers, because I have a group of people that are having fun picking products and kind of like enjoying what they're doing, and that's how the productivity is really, really exceeding everyone else. Even when, like you said, when you come to the office, everybody's enjoying, everybody's sitting and having fun. It's a fun brand, and you're celebrating birth at the end. It's a baby and kids clothing apparel company. And when you see kids right there, and like you playing with characters all day, it's really fun. It's really fun. And for me, again, it's not a work. It's kind of like you're working out. It's like playing basketball and going to the playing games every single day. That's what's fun about it.
It's a true statement. And as we have all struggled through this as well, I have to ask, how did you balance work life as you went through that journey?
My own?
Yes.
Well, there was no balance for sure. My wife took care of the kids at home so that I can actually focus on the business a lot. So there was no balance. I remember think for the first 4 years, again, my first 7 years of bootstrapping, which is similar to Talal, I think first 4 years I work 7 days and then 6 days. And then once the revenues and the number of employees hit to a place, I went down to 5 days a week. So I can work during the weekends at home, not at the office. Yeah, but that's just the game.
It is. It is a demanding role, but one that gives you so much um, benefit beyond money as you see how many people you're making happy, not just customers, but even employees and their children and the families that become then part of your own bigger work family.
Like
Right.
in my case, like as you both know, I'm starting a new company. I've been working on it for a year now. I work a lot of hours in the day and many weekends, but this is all deliberate. One of the reasons I started this, I didn't want my kids to see me. Hey, dad sold his company and retired, and just goes golf for 4 hours a day. I want them to see me build a product that helps community people, others,
Mhm.
and then that's how you impact the community. And they see me every day. Today, I like my meeting starts at 7 a.m. They come in, they check in with me, my kids, they see me in meetings, and then they give me feedback on how my meetings. Like, why are you upset with all those people this morning? She said this morning. So I want them to experience that.
Yeah.
And just think about what they will do in their future because they had already had an example set before them, right? Talal, think about your
Yeah.
kids. They're going to be able to be that much more successful. There's evidently a statistical research-backed study that says if you want to know how successful you will be, just look back and see what your parents did, right?
Yes.
Where
Yes.
they started, what they ended up at. They are going to be sending the messages unconsciously to the children as to the work ethic, the perseverance, the grit, whatever it takes to go, oh, that's the norm. That's how we make things happen. Versus, no, I'm scared. You shouldn't try. Get a job, be employed for 30 years, and hope that they don't terminate you before you collect your retirement, if there is such a thing. That's why we don't do what we do.
A
Sorry.
hundred, 100%. And there's no secret sauce. Like everybody's looking for a shortcut and a secret sauce. There isn't, and there's no luck even. I strongly believe that luck is when hard work meets the right opportunity, and the secret sauce is hustle.
Mhm.
One of the best moments ever. A friend of mine is a founder of a very big company, over $100 million in revenue, without mentioning names. Had a small conflict with his co-founder and kind of like, left, his position at the company, and for a short period of time. During that time, he came to help me, and he said, hey, I would like to sit down and help you. I have nothing right now. I need something to do. So I'm like, yes, he's gonna come, he's gonna give me all the secret sauce, everything that he knows, right? And I still remember on a Sunday, I was going to LA, and then he called me and he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm going to LA. He's like, I'm at the office. It's November, for God's sake. You're going to LA? Come back. Let's work. And I go to the office, and it was 11 o'clock. And I noticed on the camera that he was there since 7, working for me when I was driving to LA. That was early on, right? And then at like 10 o'clock at night, he's sitting once, like sitting on the chair and working. And I'm like, how did you get from 10 to 30? How did you get from 30 to 50? And I was asking him, he's like, Talal, you're waiting for the secret sauce. There's no secret sauce. That's what I do every single day. I sit down, I find places where I can fix and challenges that I can take and make sure that every day you're finishing at least 1 to 2 things. Like, no matter what you do, you show up to work, make sure that by the time you leave, you at least finish 1 to 2 things. If you don't, you failed that day. You failed yourself that day. And that's the mindset that he gave me, that when I sit down and I start something, I gotta finish it. And at first, I was trying to do a lot of things during the day. But right now, I'm like, and it's not finished. And this guy taught me how to sit down, focus on one thing, finish it, move to the next thing, finish it, move to the next thing. And it's beautiful. And yeah, back to the point. Yeah, it's one of the things that I will tell entrepreneurs out there, if because we call it workout, we call it passion and all of that. If you're not waking up every single day in the morning and are anxious and excited to go to work and like can't wait to get there, it means you're doing something wrong. You're working with something that maybe you don't like, and you put yourself in a position that you're not comfortable in. Maybe entrepreneurship is not for you. Maybe you picked the wrong journey to be on. Maybe you're on someone else's journey. I believe in, work with something you like and never work a day in your life. And that's when you're saying, how do you balance life with work? It's incorporated. It's not work for me. It's it's fun. It's genuinely fun. And being a competitive person myself and being in this sport, I like winning, and I learn from my mistakes from when I lose, and also being hurt from playing basketball and not being able to be on top like I used to be. I think competing in business is as exciting. As exciting when you're competing on market share and competing on against other brands and being innovative and creating something unique. Then all of a sudden they start copying you, and like, yes, they're copying me, they're following, they're not leading anymore. You're up for something, and that is the fulfillment we get every single day.
Fantastic.
Isn't that nice?
It was great. We needed you today to add the reality of the grind that we are in when we're starting the business, because it's not glamorous, but it's okay, because in the end, it is absolutely worth it in many ways. How tall are you as a basketball player?
I'm exactly 6 foot.
Okay, cool. I can see your role then.
Very short on the basketball court. I was a point guard, and I struggled. I had to train my legs a lot harder than everyone else so I can jump higher, and that's why I had a very short career.
Yeah, I can see that. Thank you.
This was great, Talal. You were amazing. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It was so much fun. I was looking forward to it, and I had a great time.
Yeah, cool. Thanks everyone for watching. This was a great episode again. Hopefully you're gonna get a bunch of things that you can incorporate to your business, and see you next time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.